August 1914. The Great War is just weeks old, and the world holds its breath. While all eyes are on the Western Front, a colossal clash is brewing in the East. Two massive Russian armies, the First and the Second, are pouring into Germany's East Prussia. They are the Russian steamroller, a force so immense many believe it will crush the German defenses and march all the way to Berlin. For Germany, fighting a war on two fronts, this is a nightmare scenario. The invasion sends a wave of panic through German high command and forces them to pull troops from their advance on Paris, a decision that would have profound consequences. But on the Eastern Front, the German 8th Army, outnumbered and facing imminent disaster, is about to turn the tables in one of the most stunning military victories in history. This is the story of the Battle of Tannenberg. The situation for the Germans in East Prussia was desperate. They were caught between two pincers: General Rennenkampf's First Army advancing from the east, and General Samsonov's Second Army pushing up from the south. The initial German commander, Prittwitz, panicked after a minor defeat and suggested a full retreat. Berlin was furious. He was promptly fired and replaced by a duo who would become legendary: the stoic 66-year-old retired general, Paul von Hindenburg, and his brilliant, aggressive chief of staff, Erich Ludendorff. They inherited a plan, already conceived by a talented staff officer named Max Hoffmann, that was audacious to the point of being reckless. The plan was simple, yet incredibly risky. Leave only a light cavalry screen to watch Rennenkampf's army and throw every available soldier against Samsonov, his Second Army in the south. This gamble relied on two critical assumptions. First, that Rennenkampf's army would move slowly and not press its advantage. Second, that the two Russian armies would not be able to coordinate their movements. As it turned out, these weren't just assumptions, they were facts, thanks to a fatal combination of Russian incompetence and personal animosity. Incredibly, the Germans were intercepting the Russian army's radio messages. The Russians were transmitting their daily marching orders in the clear, without bothering to use complex codes. It was as if they were handing their entire battle plan to the enemy every single morning. Ludendorff himself later said, "They were a welcome, if unexpected, source of information." This intelligence confirmed the German gamble was the right move. They knew exactly where Samsonov's forces were, where they were going, and how spread out they were. But why were the Russians making such elementary mistakes? The answer lies in a dysfunctional command structure and a deep-seated personal rivalry. The two commanders, Rennenkampf and Samsonov, despised each other. Their feud dated back to the Russo-Japanese War a decade earlier, where they had allegedly come to blows on a train station platform. This animosity meant there was virtually no communication or cooperation between their two armies. The overall commander of the front, Zielinski, was far away and exercised little effective control. He simply ordered his generals to advance as quickly as possible, ignoring the logistical chaos it created. The Russian soldiers were marching themselves into exhaustion. Their supply lines were breaking down, and their armies were becoming dangerously separated. General Samsonov, leading the Second Army, was pushing his men deep into German territory, completely unaware that his northern flank, which he believed was protected by Rennenkampf, was wide open. He was walking straight into a trap. The German plan unfolded with chilling precision. Using their excellent railway network, the 8th Army swiftly repositioned its corps from the north to the south, concentrating their forces against Samsonov's isolated army. The battle began on August the 26th. The German forces slammed into the flanks of the unsuspecting Second Army. Samsonov's left wing was crushed first, then his right. The Russian corps, fighting in unfamiliar forests and lake-filled terrain, became disoriented and cut off from one another. Communication lines were severed. Chaos reigned in the Russian headquarters. General Samsonov, riding near the front, lost contact with most of his units. He could only watch in horror as his army disintegrated around him. By August 29th, the German trap had snapped shut. The central core of the Russian Second Army was completely surrounded in a vast pocket near the village of Tannenberg. The scene inside the pocket was one of utter desperation. For 3 days, the trapped Russian soldiers fought on. But with no hope of reinforcement or escape, their resistance began to crumble. Ammunition ran out. Food was scarce. Thousands surrendered. It was a complete and total annihilation. The numbers are staggering. The Russian Second Army effectively ceased to exist. Over 92,000 Russian soldiers were taken prisoner. Another 50,000 were killed or wounded. The Germans, by contrast, suffered fewer than 15,000 casualties. The scale of the defeat was so catastrophic that General Samsonov, unable to face the shame of reporting the disaster to the Tsar, walked into the forest and took his own life. When Rennenkampf's army finally made a move, it was too late. He was met by the now reinforced German Eighth Army and was decisively beaten a week later at the First Battle of the Masurian Lakes, forcing a full Russian retreat from East Prussia. The aftermath of Tannenberg was immense. For Germany, it was a morale-boosting victory of epic proportions. Hindenburg and Ludendorff were hailed as national heroes, saviors of the fatherland. Their fame would propel them to the very top of the German war effort, and eventually to de facto control of the country. The battle was named Tannenberg for propaganda purposes, to avenge a defeat of the Teutonic Knights by Polish-Lithuanian forces at the same location 5 centuries earlier. It became a powerful symbol of German military prowess. For Russia, Tannenberg was a national humiliation. It exposed the deep-seated weaknesses within the Tsarist military: poor leadership, inadequate logistics, and outdated communication. While Russia had vast reserves of manpower and would continue to fight for 3 more years, the loss of so many experienced officers and professional soldiers in the opening weeks of the war was a blow from which the Imperial Army would never truly recover. So what is the ultimate legacy of the Battle of Tannenberg? It was a tactical masterpiece for the Germans, a textbook example of using speed, intelligence, and risk to defeat a numerically superior foe. It saved East Prussia and cemented the reputations of Hindenburg and Ludendorff. But its strategic impact is more complex. By forcing Germany to divert troops from the west, the Russian invasion, even in its failure, may have helped save Paris and contributed to the stalemate on the Western Front. Tannenberg demonstrated that the Russian steamroller could be stopped, but it also ensured the war in the East would be a long, brutal, and bloody affair. It was the first great clash on the Eastern Front, a battle that shaped the course of the First World War and set the stage for the revolutions and turmoil that would follow. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more stories from the past. Let us know in the comments which battle you'd like to see us cover next. See you in the next one.